What is up, my friends? Christine Moore here. Welcome. Welcome to this Facebook Live. And today is day 56 of the 77-day video challenge. And I thought that I would change it up a little bit, and probably over the next, 5 or 6 days, I'm going to be sharing my story and really going in depth. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the next few days. I'm going to be sharing my story, but diving deep into not just the addiction part, but like the full, like the big picture. I haven't done this before, but I just feel led to do this, and I want to be able to give some context and just like the backstory. And so I know a few of you have asked, so that's why another reason why I'm deciding to do it this way. I would, if you have anyone in your life, whether it's family, friends, anybody that struggles or has struggled with addiction or mental health, please feel free to share this video, because I definitely want to get the word out and help as many people as possible. So just to introduce myself real quick, my name is Christine Moore, and I am a certified peer support specialist, also known as recovery coach, and I'm a mom of 2 boys. And I live in the Austin, Texas area. Been here since 1999. And so let's go back to the beginning. So let's see. I was born in 1977, so I'm 45 now. So weird. So weird. And I am the youngest of 3 children. I was raised with my mom and dad and my siblings. We were middle class, more on the lower end of the middle class. My parents somehow, some way afforded to put my sister and I into private school. And so I was in private school from kindergarten up till 8th grade in, really small private schools. So had a really good experience with it. I loved it. So my mom, she raised me to know God, to love God, to have a relationship with Him. That's like my mom. She did it right. She taught me to how to have a relationship with my Savior, and I'm just so eternally grateful to my mom for, she was the only one. My dad wasn't into going to church, and so she took my sister and I, whether we wanted to or not, and took us to church every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday evening, and then there were Bible studies and opportunities to volunteer, and so we definitely grew up in the church. And so, let's see, when I was 7 years old, my mom gave me, let me back up. So I'm half Australian and half American. My dad was raised in St. Louis, Missouri. My mom was born and raised in Sydney, Australia. And she lived there for, how old was she when she moved here? 24, 25, something like that. But my dad was in the Vietnam War, and they gave him a month break. So he decided to go from Vietnam to Sydney, Australia, and he stayed there for a month. He met my mom when he was there, and then he went back to Vietnam for like a year or so, and him and my mom just wrote letters back and forth, and they fell in love, and he went back to Australia when he was done in Vietnam, married my mom, and my mom had a child, my older brother. And so my dad married her and took in my brother and moved them from Sydney, Australia to St. Louis, Missouri. That was quite a culture shock. So let's see. So yeah, I was born in 1977. Um, when I was 7 years old, I was given a, a ballet dance book, and I just remember I was like, oh, they're so beautiful, and I want to look like that. I want to be a ballerina one day. And so my mom, she put me into some ballet or just some regular dance classes, and I fell in love, and I advanced quickly. And let's see, I also did track and field when I was 10, 11, and 12. And then I started gymnastics when I was 9, which that's much late. Like most gymnasts start when they're like 2, 3, 4 years old. And so I was late into the game. But, ages 9 to 13 were the best years of my life. Like I have amazing, amazing memories of my childhood. And I had so much structure, and so my gymnastics, the dance, the track and field, it was in church, in private school, was an amazing foundation for me growing up, because I had discipline and just a really good childhood. I was very blessed. I would wake up early, get on the bus by 7 a.m., was in school from like 8 to 4, and then the gymnastics van would pick me up and take me over to the gym, would train 3-4 hours every day, and then go home, get some dinner, and go straight to bed. And then on the weekends, when I was not competing in gymnastics, I was jumping on the trampoline that I had in my backyard. I was tumbling in the front yard, and I remember there would be like an X on the front lawn from all the tumbling I did. And let's see, so I would practice on the beam that my dad made for me. It was like this little wooden beam. And yeah, it was just, constantly. That's like when I wasn't in the gym, then I was outside practicing. And I had my best friend who lived down the street, Stephanie. She was my best friend, and I just remembered having sleepovers all the time, and just a really, really good life. And if you had told me back then, what is addiction, I would have been clueless. I might have thought, well, maybe that's people who, live on the streets. Maybe that's, I don't know, somebody who maybe had a horrible childhood or just a really tough life, and they turn to drugs to cope with life. But honestly, I was very naive growing up, because even though I was in private school and I was an athlete, my parents never ever talked about anything that's really important, like important topics such as drugs and sex and just important life topics that should be discussed in the household growing up. So yeah, I was very naive. Then when I turned 13, that's when everything changed. And I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to do part 2 tomorrow. I just wanted to share real quick just kind of the foundation and how I grew up, and I will definitely dive deep tomorrow into how things changed. But before 13, great childhood. Mom and dad were very involved in my life. I remember them at my track meets, my gymnastics meets, going to all of the dance recitals and all of that. And so I am truly, truly grateful for those years. I look back to those years just with extremely fond memories. And so ages 13, after 13 is when life started to change and get difficult. And yeah, and then I'll lead into how addiction became a part of my life. All right, so besides that, I wanted to also raise awareness that October is National Medicine Abuse Awareness Month. October is National Medicine Abuse Awareness Month. And I will be putting a link in the chat, in the comments anyway. It's preventmedabuse.org. And definitely, please, parents, talk to your kids. I know you're probably thinking, oh, that they would never do that. Trust me, you have to have this conversation. It is vital, and it could save their lives. So I will put that in the comments. Check it out and tune in for tomorrow for part 2 of my story, age 13, when everything changed. Have a good evening. Talk to you later.